Okay, Wes, this is a great opportunity to sort of review the software. I know it's for a lot of dentists, actually manipulating and dealing with this software is where we get sort of clumsy. So just go through some of the tools, go through it slowly so we understand it, and then we'll see how we can integrate it into a clinical situation once we understand what the tools look like.
Sounds good. Now that we've acquired our CBCT image from the Rayscan unit, we could then go to the Open folder in the top left corner of the screen, and we'll see thumbnails of any and all the images that we've acquired. We can also look in a tree view to see what we've acquired by month. I'm going to open up images just from July 15th, which is today. I'm going to double click on our CT image, and when I do this, it will launch the Zealous 3D manipulation software, and that's where we'll actually see the image that we've acquired. We get a preview of the field of view. I can simply choose OK. And here we have our MPR views, so we can see our axial, sagittal, and coronal views, as well as our 3D rendering. So we can see that we've gotten all the anterior teeth, the posterior teeth. We can manipulate any of the views here, and we also have our 3D rendering here as well. We have a series of tools on the left side, as well as some fine-tuning options at the bottom. For clinical purposes, often our MPR views are the more important ones, so we can actually see detail in the image.
What's MPR mean?
The multiplanar reconstruction views. So it's actually our two-dimensional slices, as you can see in the top right corner, top left corner, bottom left corner. And then our 3D rendering is the representation of the actual anatomy that we've acquired here in the bottom right corner.
Okay, do me a favor. Go through these tools slowly, on the left side. Just point and tell me what they are and sort of what they do, one by one. I know it might be a bit boring, but so I'm sure they've got a purpose, and you might as well learn what they do.
Absolutely. So in the top left corner, we have them in different sections. The first section is basic view manipulation tools. So if I'm single left clicking on the icon here for pan, this allows me to move back over to the 3D reconstruction and just left click and drag and move the 3D representation wherever I want it to be. I can turn it off. Top left corner, I can also go to rotate. So doing a single left click on the 3D rendering will just rotate the image. I have the option to turn that back off. I can also do a zoom. Single left click, zooms in and out. Can turn
now, when you're zooming in and out, are you using your wheel or is it?
For this instance, using these tools in the top left corner, these are determining what happens when you use your a single left mouse button, click and hold. So if I am on the zoom option and I single left click, hold it down, and then slide my mouse left and right, it will zoom in and out.
Okay, perfect.
I can switch down to a brightness and contrast option, where single left click, I can change brightness and contrast, moving up and down. And at any time, if any of the options that we've manipulated or changed on the image, if I move my mouse to the top left corner, the top right corner of the window, I can choose reset. I can always go back to reset all, and it brings the data right back to its original state as it was shown when we came into the image.
Okay, let's do that again because that might be something I might be doing a lot of.
Okay, are we still recording?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to move this to a view that might be less than ideal. And if you're not aware of how to get back into this, you can always go back to your tools, change your zoom, and zoom back in. But if you just want to go back to the base right where you began, in the top right corner of the screen, click on Reset, and you have a variety of choices to choose what all you want to reset. But if you just want to reset everything and get back to a simple initial state, choose Reset All with a single left mouse click. It's going to ask, are you sure you'd like to reset the data? You can choose yes. And that just takes you back. It puts the two-dimensional slices and the 3D rendering back where it was when we first entered the software. Continuing through some of the tools in the top left corner under the general view window, we can invert the image. So we can make the whites black and the blacks white. We also have...
And what's the advantage of that?
If there is some particular anatomy or canal or something that you might not be able to see in its normal view, sometimes toggling this off and on can give you a little bit of a different perspective to actually get a little bit more out of the image at times. Right. Say in the sinus area, maybe a canal, you can see a little bit more anatomy pop out a little bit more than you might in its normal view. We also have the ability to sharpen the image if we'd like. We can turn it off so it looks a little bit more blurry, but there's no sharpening added to it. So we can turn off and on sharpening. We can add annotations if we'd like. We can put text over it. The next series of tools down are your measurement tools. You have your standard single line measurements. Single left clicks will start and stop. You can do a multi-line or a tape line, so you can do multiple measurements, and it will give you the sum total of the line. You can do angles. You have a tool for a profile, which allows you to click on the tool, draw a line throughout the image, and it'll give you a graphical display of the changes of density throughout that line. So you can see along that line where there are dips in the grayscale values for that particular area.
Now, how does that grayscale relate to Hounsfield units? Does it?
It has somewhat of a relation, but with CBCT you're not actually getting the Hounsfield scale. So we typically speak in grayscale values because your air, your water are not going to be identical as it would be with a Hounsfield scale. But using grayscale values, you can at least get a relation to different objects and anatomies and densities throughout the image. So I'm going to reset, going back to our standard view. We can do measurements of area. So if we have an airway that we want to measure an amount of the area in a specific airway, double click, and it will give me the area and other values, an average value of the grayscale values in that as well.
Now, does that show 3D or just within that cut?
It should be just within that specific cut right there.
Okay, so so that might have limited value. If, I'm trying to think about the value there, where you would really use that.
I think if you were doing something as far as doing movements in orthodontics to open up the airway a little bit, maybe it can give you better than just a single point-to-point measurement to see if you're actually getting more area.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
We can then move to a region of interest tool, where we can, rather than having the area of interest tool, where we can specify specifically a customized area. This gives us a square, giving us the same kind of area representation that we saw with the other tool. We can put an arrow on the image, we can draw on the image, and then we can delete anything that we have on the image as well. So we have different segmentation tools where we can pull out different parts of the 3D volume or of the 2D views as well, depending on what we actually want to do. Below that, we have output options as far as capturing what's on the screen as far as a screenshot. We can print out and go to a report, or we can save and send it to save the project that we've actually done. So manipulations, it's not going to save an entire new 3D volume, but it'll save the manipulations that we've done. The next option down is for your NPR views. So in the window that we're currently in, it's the rotating axis, or often called the orthogonal view. We can go to oblique slicing, which will also give you the ability to look at different cross sections that you might not be able to see in your normal orthogonal view. But most of the time we're going to be staying in the rotational axis. We can reposition the representation of the NPR images. We can make adjustments.
Tell me what NPR means.
Multiplanar reconstruction views. So these are the individual slices. So that when we're saying that it's a 280 micron image, basically we're saying that each one of these two-dimensional views is 0.28 millimeters thick, and we can scroll slice by slice all the way through the image and see as much detail in those slices as we'd like. We also have the curve option, which is popular if you're looking to do nerve canal tracing as well, or want to extract a panoramic image from your 3D image. So we can hit the arrow beside curve. We can choose the auto arch, and it will look at our axial view and give us an automatic view of a 2D cross-sectional. Or I can choose to do it myself. So I can be in the axial view, and I can click my points along the arch, double click at the end, and it will give me that panoramic view that I'm used to seeing. And if we're looking to do or place any implants, this might be the ideal location to do that. Then I can adjust from the 3D view or any one of the other views really where I am in the anatomy as well. I can change the slice thickness, and I can move the location around as well. So if I want to see in the top left corner that cross-sectional view, maybe where the nerve canal is, we can see it in that window. And just using the wheel on the mouse, I can scroll through anterior and posterior for the image as well.
You can zoom in and out on that pan also.
And you can still use the same manipulation tools as far as what we were looking at before.
So can you decrease the thickness on the Panorex?
You can. You have an option. So we can change the thickness and the scale here. We can go much thicker or much thinner. So if you're looking for a more standard looking pan image, you can do that and get what we're typically used to seeing in a panoramic image. And of course we can go back to the orthogonal views just by going to NPR and choosing rotating axis, or we can go and reset and take us back basically to the home position. We can also choose to do 3D zoom, so we can go different views of the 3D software here. We can map the nerve canal here as well. We have a canal manager, so you can change the thickness of the canal that you're mapping out. But if you're looking to map it, simply do draw, and you can move through any of the slices, whether it's in the panoramic view here or the cross-sectional view here. And then when you get to the end, at the mental foramen, you can then double-click, and we'll put the nerve canal in for you. If we'd like to place an implant, and of course I'm not using the anatomy appropriately, I'm just showing you the tools in the software, but if we'd like to insert an implant, and we've got multiple options here, we can manage our implant library, but most of the time you can insert an implant, you can choose the manufacturer that you're looking for, you can choose from your library, you can pick whichever ones you'd like. Most common manufacturers are available, but when we're ready to insert the implant, choose insert. We can drop the implant where we want. We have the ability to move the implant as well as change the angle of the implant. We can see it in any of the views as well as in the 3D representation as well. If you'd like to share this image, you can go down to Utilities. You have the ability to do a report and put different screenshots that were captured from the output option into the report. You can also burn the image as well as a fully functional viewer from the Zella software onto a DVD along with this patient's image. You have a few other 3D representation or 3D rendering options as well. I'm going to reset this. I'm going to go back to my rotating axis view here. You can still see that I have the nerve canal that was drawn previously, but in some cases you will see your 3D representation with some additional pieces in here that you may not want in there, or you may want a different color or different view. Over on the right side, you have a number of different options you can choose from, as well as the grayscale representation here along the bottom of the image. But in most cases, you can choose Load Preset, and you have a variety of different options you can choose from as far as what you want your 3D representation to be. So if you want it to be more transparent, show more soft tissue, whatever is more ideal for you, click on the one that you'd like, select OK, and you get the 3D representation.
So if you want to go ahead and delete that nerve drawing, how would you go ahead and do it?
Right click and choose delete, and that will remove it as well.